Go green, make green. That's the goal for a green economy. No one knows this better than EMA executive and corporate board member, dear friend, the owner of LA Car Guy, the greenest car dealerships in North America, Mike Sullivan.
I was fortunate enough early on to see the trend in alternative vehicles. I've been doing this for 43 years in the car business. And as a lifetime surfer, when I was a kid, since I was a kid, sustainability has been in my DNA. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how consumer demand has created a new era for corporate responsibility. First up, I've got a great panel. First up, Shara Ticku, president and co-founder of C16, creating a sustainable replacement for palm oil. And palm oil is in everything. Welcome, Shara. All the way from Chile, our furthest panelist today, Elena Carretero, Corporate Affairs and Sustainability Director, Santa Rita Wine, is here with us again from Chile. Kind of new to our group, but a great guy, Joy Gonzalez, CEO of Barry's Boot Camp, and on track to be the first recipient of the EMA Green Seal for Fitness. And Catherine Gore, president of Bioscience, who uses science and technology to create skincare without harming the environment or the animals. So I think we've got a really interesting and diverse group of business operators today, all with a very sincere, sustainable message. So I think we'll get a chance to visit and see how they define sustainability, engage people in sustainability, and keep that constantly progressing. So thanks. And we've only got a half an hour. We don't have anywhere near enough time. I'll start out with an easy one here. How can you define sustainability in your industry? And how do the employees embrace and enhance this sustainable effort? Maybe Elena, start up, kick it off.
Thank you. Well, thank you for inviting me. And sorry if my English is not so good. I'm from Spain, but I live in Chile in the wine industry. I work for a winery, so sorry sometimes I use some bad words.
Use your hands, we'll get it.
Yeah, I can dance. Yeah. So, well, I think when we talk about sustainability, I always say to the people, what is the first thing that you have in mind when you think in that word? It's the dictionary. So the people say, okay, sustainable has to be that endures, that lasts in time. So it has to be something with time, you know? This is the normal concept. And if you go to the scientific community, you see that it's the same concept. Sustainable development, I think it's the same. I can talk louder. So sustainable, you know, in the scientific community is the sustainable development is that one that satisfies the needs of present generation without compromise the needs for future. So it's the same concept, is to last in time, you know. So we had to be more reasonable with that concept. Sometimes we try to make more real or more difficult, and it's so simple, so easy. So for the wine industry, is that to be in time, to do the business in time. So it has to be three things: environmentally friendly, socially equitable, and economically viable. And it has to be the three, because if not, you disappear. If you are so green that you invest so much money in your company and then you lose money, you broke and disappear. And it is the same with the community. If you are not worried about your employees and the community that is working, and today with the social media, you're going to have big problems and you're going to disappear. So it has to be the three concepts, and I think the wine industry is working on that. And not only the environmental, but also a lot the social aspect.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's the biggest piece there for me was the simplistic side of it. It's got to be simple. It's got to be easy for us to teach, for us to be the ones that are helping people find out it's not that hard to make the change. Sure, same kind of question. How do you define?
Yeah, so my company uses biotechnology to make the world's first truly sustainable palm oil. And palm oil is an ingredient, but it's a $60 billion industry, and it's found in everything. It's in 50% of products on supermarket shelves, and everything from soaps and shampoos to makeup, lipstick, Nutella, and even biofuels. So we touch a lot of industries, some more clean than others. And I think what's been really sustainability at every step is a core part of our value system. And I think we've had to push on that definition. And something that's been a challenge in defining sustainability, especially in sort of food and personal care spaces, is this tension between sustainable and natural. And in the beauty industry, we saw this with people demanded all natural, all organic. And we learned two things from that. One, you often suffer major performance from all natural, all organic products, unfortunately. And two, when we go all natural, we place incredible demands upon our planet, whether it's land, water, CO2 emissions. And so what people started to realize in the beauty industry is that we've got to come to some compromise between sustainable and natural. And the way that they define this now is the sort of concept that's emerging called clean beauty. And it means good for me, good for the planet. And I think that that is something that's truly accomplishable, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. And what we do is by using biotechnology to design and produce an oil. We use fermentation, which is a technology that's been used for centuries to make beer and wine and cheese, to make a better oil that's better for the planet, but can also perform better in products, is better for our customers, CPGs, and for end consumers. So the sustainability is a really core piece, but I think you have to also meet the needs that people want. And so I think this good for me, good for the planet is a really nice way of thinking about what sustainability really means.
Perfect, yeah. Catherine, Joy, jump in a little.
Go ahead, sure. So for me, I don't think anybody would consider boutique fitness to be a green industry today. And my commitment started probably about 8 months ago. And there was so much low-hanging fruit because we're not a product business, right? We're a service business. So there is a ton of consumer-facing product that we could immediately start to eliminate, like plastic bottles, right? They're all over the gym, whether it's boutique or big box gym. So we actually have an exclusive fitness partnership with Just Water that we're launching in about a month. And we'll soon have plastic bottles removed from all 56 of our global studios around the world. But then outside of that, we've really been digging in and looking at all of the things, the products we use internally, like cleaning supplies, recyclable, flooring, rubberized athletic flooring, things like that. So it's all sort of still new and emerging for boutique fitness.
You're at the good end of this. The low-hanging fruit at the beginning is
yes,
easy.
Exactly.
It gets tougher.
Yeah, I'm
good.
sure.
Thanks. Catherine.
So my name is Catherine Gore, and I'm with a company called Biossance, which is a skincare brand that is the most sustainable and fastest growing skincare brand inside Sephora, and the only one that's verified by the EWG. And, as you alluded to, the beauty industry is quite complicated in many ways, but I think there's a very strong movement from all of the brands at every size to move to more sustainable solutions overall. And what we see is that Biossance is really leading the way in order to do that, and it really starts with the beginning of the manufacturing process for beauty, and making the right decisions at every single step of the way, including how it's made, how the formula comes together, and how it's packaged. And so our goal is really zero carbon footprint, but this summer we're launching a campaign called the Clean Academy to bring more beauty brands with us along the journey and help make an even faster change in that arena. In North America, still only 13 cosmetic ingredients are banned in North America. And for context, in Europe, that number is 1,500. And so we have a long way to go. And if you consider the average woman actually puts on about 168 chemicals in beauty and personal care before she walks out the door in the morning. And for men, that number is 85. We really have an opportunity.
I've got 3.
Maybe not for Mike, no. but we really have an opportunity to change the course in the beauty industry. And we quickly go to sort of the generations and how the generations' behavior is moving and is it going in the right direction. And if you think about millennials and Xers, those generations were taught to recycle in the right way. And sort of the new term for Gen Z is pre-cyclers. So there's a new movement of generations where people are going to be making the right decisions and the right choices before they start their consumer journey. Instead of recycling it in the right way, they want to make the right decision from the get-go. So if the consumer and the companies can move this in the right direction, there's real light at the end of the tunnel.
Good. And I did count up to like 7 while you were talking. Joe, you touched on that your industry is not necessarily thought of as being green. Is there any risk in tying yourself to sustainability? Any exposure? Okay, maybe just touch on that and kind of everybody hit that one kind of quickly.
Yeah, so there's a lot of risk associated, especially with as it relates to products and margins, profitability. And we actually hired a team of Harvard interns to do a whole analysis for us, not only to help us source better products that are environmentally safe and friendly, but also to help us figure out what the cost associated would be. So that's been a really interesting and fun project. And I think the thing that excites us most about this at Barry's is the boutique fitness world is very small and intimate and has a very engaged audience. So I'm really hoping this is a call to action for all my competitors, which I would love to see just across the industry, all of these changes.
I think that's the exciting part when I see someone who's not in a green industry start it.
Yeah.
We had a speaker recently, hair salons, and she put pressure on everybody else, and pretty soon all of Santa Monica was doing the right thing. It was really interesting to watch. Elena?
For the wine industry, I think it's the opposite. The risk is not to be in. Because, well, I don't know, but maybe you realize that the bottle of wine is one of the only product that goes to the table of the final consumer with a label. So usually the people take the bottle and read the certification and the seals. And so when the consumer starts to ask or to demand something, probably start with the wines. So we had to be in, and we have been doing for the last 2 decades. I work a lot also with the wine, with the Californian wine industry, and they have been doing, the new world wine producer country, they have been doing. So, but even we work in the environmental aspect when we are not the most, I don't know, the participation of the carbon gas emissions in the wine industry is 0.02. I mean, so we are nothing in terms of the carbon footprint, but anyway, we need to prove that we are working with. So, and we have, for example, in Canada, that you know, that system, we have tenders. We cannot get into, for selling wines if we don't have a certification, for example, in sustainability. So, I mean, for us, it's so important because if we don't have it, we don't sell and we don't have any profit. So,
it's pretty simple.
Like this, very simple.
Yeah, it is interesting. We had her wine last night at dinner, and you're measured. People read the label. They may or may not. In a lot of ours, it's on the table with us. So it's interesting. Shara.
Yeah, we're probably on the other end of the spectrum because our business model is B2B. And so we sell to brands who sell to consumers. And so we're one step even further removed. And I would say that many brands already have a hard time saying that sustainability has to be a part of what they're doing. What we have seen, so we are not yet launched in markets. We're working with a handful of brands right now who will be among the first in the world to have sustainable palm truly in their products. And what has surprised me, when we talk to brands about being a supplier to them, there's sort of 3 levers. There's performance, cost, and sustainability. And because we're a B2B selling into things like soap and shampoo, performance and cost are super important. We cannot sacrifice. We have to be as good or better than current palm. And that's what I lead with when I'm talking to potential customers. What has surprised me is how much sustainability has been the hook for what's driven those brands to be interested in us, and sometimes cold outreach to us, because telling the sustainable palm oil, that is the story that they want to tell, because they know that consumers want it, and they know that they can capture value by being one of the first people to truly fix this palm oil problem. And so honestly, I think I came in with a very rational approach, which was better performance, better cost, and sustainability is a real benefit and helps you tell the story. But in our experience, it has been the reason that people want to work with us.
Yeah, you'll hear that all day for 2 days, that telling the story. You know, we all have to do the right thing. We have to build the right product, and then we got to be able to tell the story.
Yeah.
A little bit of a slight segue. How have you made your customers part of this sustainable process? How are they reacting to it? And can you see your core brand, your core base expand? Sometimes tough to measure. There's a lot of other things going on at the same time. But how has that sustainability become engaged with your customers? Maybe let's kind of go back down this way again.
For Biossance, and I think in beauty in particular, you know, I think the sustainability desire creates community. So it actually, we find from a marketing perspective and just a brand awareness perspective that, this is certainly the fastest growing, I wouldn't even call it a trend, the real movement in that direction, and that what it does is create community. Sephora has over 20 million beauty insiders, and they're very engaged and talkative about beauty overall, and their number one focus right now is how to make better choices, but get the same level of efficacy. Mm-hmm. So I think that in some ways the sustainability movement actually builds more community amongst the beauty industry.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Joey.
Yeah, I mean, being the new guy at the
new guy, make something up.
We just announced that we were heading in this direction, like within the last 45 days, I'd say. Mm-hmm. And everything about berries is community-based. So the very first thing we did was on Earth Day, and around that time we organized like beach cleanups and all different kinds of activities that our customers could come together and sort of experience this like shared vision that we have. But we're going to learn a lot more when we start to take out, sports top plastic bottles. And there are always people that are resistant to change, no matter what the message behind it. But as of now, it's all been positive.
Good. Miss Elena.
For us, because they are demanding that we have to be sustainable, and they want to see that when they go for buying the bottle in the supermarket are demanding us a lot of certification, and so that gives another world, because you have a lot of different certification in different countries. So at the end, you say, well, I want to choose one that communicate to the final consumer that I'm doing okay, but which one? And then you start to lose in this world of certification. So I think it's a work that we have to do together, the consumer and the supermarkets and the intermediaries, that are in the middle of the chain, and us, because we want to do okay, we want to communicate, but sometimes we don't know how to.
Right. Shara.
So we haven't launched yet, but I think, I like your point about supermarkets. I mean, one of the first customers that we found is a brand that's making something like Nutella. So palm oil is used in Nutella. It's sort of the functional ingredient that gives it its texture. And people have tried to replace it with other vegetable oils, and they simply can't because palm oil is just better. And this brand had a white label deal with Whole Foods on the table, but Whole Foods said, we can't go through with this deal until you take palm oil out of the formulation. And the brand is stuck, and they're like, I have this huge deal on the table, but I can't take palm out of the formulation because it ruins my product. And so I think your point that it's coming from all angles, so we don't have customers, so I'm not answering your question directly, but we've seen it. The brands are demanding it from us because they're feeling pressure from their consumers, and I do think it's the pre-cyclers. For better or worse, we can talk about generational trends, but really they are the ones that are demanding it. And then the retailers are putting pressure, which is a really, really interesting leverage point for brands because they have so much control over brands as well.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting for me. I came from a dirty industry in the automobile business, and as I could teach and train and make it easy for people to go to hybrids, that was pretty simple. And now to electrics, at Toyota we sell an electric car powered by hydrogen. Water comes out the tailpipe. And the community is very supportive. They're very active. So for me, it's been kind of fun and relatively easy. At the Subaru stores, we match funds at the end of the year. And if you buy a car in December, Subaru, and we put in money, and you get to pick what charity it goes to. So my guests are involved. They get to pick what it is. My employees are involved because they're pitch in their favorite and making sure that EMA and Heal the Bay are at the top of the list. So I think it's fun when you start to get that kind of engagement, and it really starts to pull on its own. Okay, last question. Oh wait, the clock went away. Uh-oh, we got 5 minutes. We'll bring it home. We're on the path to sustainability with a long way to go. How do we talk about our greening efforts without it coming off as mission accomplished? Let's come back this way. You start, sure.
Yeah, I think we're so far away from mission accomplished. And sometimes being in and around people for whom sustainability is a core part of what they do, I think you forget that. But we really, really have a long way to go. And so, with palm oil, again, the reason that it's bad is because the tree can only grow right around the equator. So in order to grow more palm oil, these producers destroy tropical rainforests, they burn the trees and the carbon-rich peatland, and this drives 10% of annual greenhouse gas emissions each year, which is the equivalent of burning 300 football fields worth of rainforest every single hour. And this is used in almost, I guarantee every single person has used a product with palm oil in the last 2 days. And so this is how far we still have to go. And at the same time, we still have people in the industry saying, it's not a big deal, there's still plenty of land in West Africa that we can use. And it's heartbreaking, but it's true. And so I think it's important, so I think that's sad. How do we harness that to make sure we get on this path? Consumers are doing their part. I think it's our responsibility as business community to be able to provide solutions and to remember that there is leverage every part of the way. I think the grocery store, the retailers are a great example of that, but we've seen so much finger pointing, and I think instead of finger pointing and saying, it's not my fault, it's these guys' fault because they don't provide me with an alternative. Every single person in the value chain, from the consumer all the way up and all the way out, can play a role. And so I think it's more of an ask for each of us to do our part to provide a piece of the solution.
Yeah, good. Elena?
Well, I think, sorry. I need one of
Joey's gonna remind you.
I missed one of that. Well, I think for me, sustainability and how we're going to deal in the future has to be more with the social aspect than with the environmental aspect. I think the environmental is going to be a need. We don't have another planet, so if we don't do, we're going to be dead. So, but the social aspect is more complicated because it's dependent on the cultures, and I think, well, we have been seeing a lot of examples here in California with San Francisco. So I think to be more equitable is something that we had to work on. It's like the same question that the Brundtland Convention established. How is the limit of growth? How can continue growing? We can do it in this way. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to think about it, and I think it's the double click in the sustainability, and it's going to be the future. And in the environmental aspect, I think it's recycling. I mean, we need to do so fast.
Yeah. Joey, any thoughts on?
Yeah, for us, there's really no risk in saying we're done. I think a more applicable question is, how can we help some of our peers and competitors get there? And so what we're doing is creating a template for, our objective is to be the first fitness company to win a Green Seal award. And so we're creating a template to literally just hand to anyone else in the industry who's interested in hopping on board.
Yeah, really, really fun. I think you really enjoy that aspect of it. Ms. Catherine.
And, I certainly think the beauty industry has a long way to go, but in beauty specifically, the consumer really guides where things are headed. And I can assure everybody that if the consumer votes with her wallet towards sustainability, all of the beauty brands will get on board with that. And so, that is where it's headed, certainly, but it'll definitely be a vote from the consumer's wallet, and hopefully the rest of the brands will get on board.
Okay. I agree. The consumer does have a big pull on us. I don't want to end early. We have 1 minute and 11 seconds. Anybody else with a marketing story? Are you using, is sustainability part of your marketing? Is it overt like that, or is it a storytelling from behind more? Anybody? Yeah, okay. Well, go ahead. I knew you, Elena. I knew you would.
No, I mean, it's a need. We need for telling the story to the consumers. But I think sustainability we have to be very careful. It's not marketing, it's educating. So that's where I show thanks to this kind of initiative, because we need, sometimes the scientific community is very technical, and we have to talk about sustainability in a normal way. And how to do it is this kind of forum, you know, where you have translator, people that work in an industry, but we are able to make a common language in sustainability. Mm-hmm. But it has to be like in the first panel, it has to be in the soul. Sustainability has to be inside. If you don't love it and you don't believe in that, you're not going to be a good community.
Get out of the way. I agree. I want to take the last second. I want to introduce, we got 24 students here today, all from 13 to 18 years old-ish. Am I close? 24. So all of you, when you're around today, go over and introduce yourself and ask them what they're doing. It's pretty interesting. So thanks guys. To the panel, thank you guys very much. Half an hour wasn't enough, but thank you. Okay.